Good afternoon, Robert. It's so great to see you in my office today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you.
Good. That's good to hear, considering all the things that are going on in the world today. It's great to hear that you're doing pretty good. Do you know why you're in my office today?
Well, I think I'm here to talk about my career plans. I think once I get out of school.
Yes, exactly. That's right. About your career plans. In fact, your mom called me recently. We've been through about four of the career and college curriculum lessons in eighth grade, and we're coming upon the end of eighth grade. And she's a little concerned about some of the things you've been talking about. And of course, I've been with you in all those lessons, and it appears that you're more interested in maybe not taking any college classes in the future and just working for your uncle. Is that correct?
Well, that's my plans. My uncle, he has a really nice construction business, and he's been talking to me for a long time about when I finish school coming to work for him. So that's my plan.
Okay, so it sounds like your uncle has a really good business and you're
Hmm.
interested in working for him after high school. And you said it was a construction business?
Yes, it's a construction business, and he always has a lot of openings. So he's told me, in a lot of times that I can start probably as soon as I get out of high school because there's always openings. And he said I could start off, laying cement, learning how to do that, and then move on to other things. But he makes good money, my uncle, and he said I could make good money too.
Okay, so it sounds like your uncle has some openings and he's interested in hiring you to do maybe some construction and
Mm-hmm.
road light, laying the
Laying
concrete.
concrete and then moving it. There's a lot of different things that my uncle's construction business is involved in. But he told me, he said, look, you can just start off, learning how to lay cement properly, and then from there you can move on to other things that make a little more money.
Okay, so you're interested. It's important to you to make some money. Is that true?
It's very important for me to make money. I think if I get out of school and have a chance to make money immediately rather than spending 3 to 4 years and longer in a college where I'm not making any money, I think that works for me.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I did want to mention before we get started, because I know that we're going to talk about different things about how you feel about this and about your parents and so on, is I've never seen you in my office before, but we always talk about confidentiality. So just to let you know that anything that you say in this room to me will not get back to your parents or to your uncle or to your other teachers, unless, of course, you indicate to me that you're either being harmed or you may harm someone else in the future. So, just so that we can talk openly about your feelings and what's going on, and tell me about what's happening at home with your mom, and what is she saying about your decision? And again, you're only in eighth grade, getting ready to graduate, but now's the time we start talking about colleges and getting classes towards a future.
Well, my mom's been all over me about going to college. My mom went to college, and she's been working as an accountant now for a lot of years after she graduated from college. And so my mom thinks that college is the best plan for me because she went to college, but my uncle didn't go to college, and so that's why my uncle thinks that when I graduate high school, I can just start in his business and I'd just be fine. But my mom is more concerned that I go to college and have a college education because she thinks that in the long run have the opportunity to have better jobs, better places to work, as well as in the long run making maybe more money to raise a family better and things like that. So, but
Okay.
my uncle, he again, he's done just fine.
Okay. So it sounds like your mom is obviously she's educated. She has a college education and she's an accountant. So in her mind, it's important for you to get a college education because she feels like there's more money involved in that and a better future, whereas your uncle is telling you and
And my uncle
having
says
you.
there's a better future and more money in his line of work without an education.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to reflect a little bit on, you know, how is this making you feel when your mom is, trying to convince you of something that your uncle is trying to convince you of, and she cares enough to in fact call me as your school counselor to talk with you and try to discuss some of the options that are in fact available to you for your future.
Well, when I'm at home, my mom and I we talked a lot about college, and I just don't have any interest. I'm kind of tired of. I think 4 years from now, I'll be even more tired of school, and that's why I told my mom. I said I sort of want to just start my life moving forward with working in the construction business, and so we've talked about this at my house a lot, but it always ends up the same, where my mom kind of shakes her head and says, "Well, we'll talk about it some more later," and I know in my mind that that later will be the next day, and the conversation will probably be sort of the same with the same kind of ending, with me, thinking that I'm just going to go work for my uncle.
Okay. So it sounds like you're feeling a little bit tired of school and ready to move on, and in fact your mom is, going to talk to you, and yeah.
I like school. I just don't think college is necessary.
Okay. So you have that feeling that you don't necessarily have a college degree to have a future, have a promising future, and your mom is in fact on a different side of the street on that, and so you're having to deal with some of those conversations day in and day out. Okay. Well, what is the best thing that could happen if you change your mind and you decide to go to college? What is the best thing that can happen? So I want to take you out of the thought process at the moment of the construction business. So what is the best thing you think can happen if you decide to go to college?
Well, if I decide to go to college, the best thing I believe could happen is I'd finish, get a degree, or have a degree awarded to me, and then I'd be able to find employment in my area of education. I mean, if I had to go to college, I really haven't thought about it much, but I sort of like history. Uh, so I guess if I was to go to college and get a degree in history, or maybe history teacher would be something that might be okay. But I mean, again, that's the best thing that could happen. I could get a job teaching, but again, the money in teaching probably wouldn't come close to the money in construction. So I'm back to the same thing where I think it's just as important to make money.
Okay. So again, I hear you saying it's important to you to make money. But what I heard in what is the best thing that could happen is that you would in fact achieve a goal, which is to finish a 4-year degree in something that you have interest in. So again, that I see that as a really big positive because it's something that you set your mind to, you get further educated, and then you do something that you could potentially love to do. What could be the worst thing that could happen if you don't make that change and decide to take some college classes and maybe go down the road of an educational post-secondary ed? What's the worst thing that could happen?
So if I didn't go to college?
That's right.
Well, I guess the worst thing could happen is I would work for my uncle, and then for some reason maybe my uncle's business wouldn't do too well. I'd get laid off maybe. And then at that time I'd have to find another line of work that didn't require me to have an education. I'd have to find another line of work similar to what I did with my uncle's business in construction.
Okay. that's very thoughtful, and that's a very good, mature answer, because I would venture to say, as you suggested, that the worst thing that could happen is that if your uncle's business didn't do so well, the construction business is down, and he has to lay you off. And there you are having to find another job, potentially in the same field. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being it's not important that you change your mind and go to college, 10 being it's extremely important to make the change, where do you stand on that? So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being it's not important that you change your mind to go to college, or 10 it's extremely important to change my mind.
I'd say I'm about middle, about a 5.
Okay. So what makes you a 5 and not a 4?
Well, I like to think that my mom has my best interest in heart when she's talking to me about college. So, you know, um, I think that that with my mom, I like to think that my mom's telling me the things that are the best for me. So even though I'm pretty intent on going to work for my uncle's construction business, at the same time I think that you know I'd like I'd give some more consideration to college, if there were other things presented to me that were favorable.
Okay, good. So
That's how I
you're
would
kind of in
say.
the middle of the road, which is
I'm not completely shutting out college. It's just that right now my aim is not to go to any kind of a trade school either, and just go straight into work when I get out of high school.
okay. So it sounds like to me it is important to you, however, what your mom says or what your mom thinks. It's important to you to
Mm-hmm.
listen to her, hear some of her advice, um, but you're still feeling as though you're pretty much set on working for your uncle. Okay, that's fair. What I want to do now, we have a little bit of time left. I wanted to talk about the 2 roads that you will be facing upon graduation, really from high school, but even sooner, because in high school you start taking courses to prepare you if your plan is to go to college. So we're going to do road number 1, which is the change road, the road that you would decide, I think I'm going to decide to go to college. And then we're going to take the second road, which is the road that you're going to sustain the same ideas. Okay? So on this paper, I would like you to write what could happen along the way in road number 1, which you are going to make a change of decision. And then I want you to come up with 3 things that could happen on that road if you change your mind and you decide to take some college classes and maybe pursue the history degree. And then on road 2, what will happen? Now you're thinking of the future. What might happen in the future on road number 2, which is to continue to go on the path of construction? Looks like you're putting a lot of thought into that, so I'll be curious to see what we're going to discuss for the next several minutes that we have. Okay. All right, so tell me about road number 1, which was that you would in fact change your mind and you would go to college after high school. Tell me what you see on that road number 1.
If I chose college, I would obviously achieve a college education, I would be more marketable in the for employment, and I would be able to teach history probably at a school, and I would probably more likely than not be able to keep employment for a long period of time as a teacher.
Mm-hmm. And how would that affect or impact a potential family in the future?
Well, I think having being a teacher in a school would provide me with a more reliable and consistent income that would also enable me to probably uh, have better choices for my family and if I had children in terms of where we would live and schools for my kids and things like that. So I think I'd have a little bit more choices, maybe with a college education.
Okay. So you had some really good, important, strong points to support the potential of going to college. Of course, that it would be more of a stable job. It would give you a full degree. You would have choices of schools to teach at, and it would be very good for a family, to support a family. Now, under road number 2, which would be to continue to maintain the thought and the journey that you would eventually work for your uncle after high school. Tell me what you saw on that road.
Well, on that road, I have immediate income.
Okay.
I have immediate paycheck, immediate money. I would be able to learn a new trade in construction, several trades, and I think that my opportunity to continue to make more money as I learned more trades would be better than perhaps working in a school as a teacher.
Okay. Did you, on either one of those roads, find anything that came to your mind that would be bad? For example, what
Yeah.
are the bad things that would happen if you took road number 1 to the school becoming a teacher, for example?
Well, one of the things with teaching is I might get a little bit tired of teaching the same subject year after year. And also, it's not, I understand that in teaching, it's a little bit difficult when you have classrooms that are, you know, with children that are kind of hard to manage and things like that. So in construction, I wouldn't have to worry about all that. I just work for myself. I just work alongside other people. I don't have to worry about kids and parents and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So you're feeling like if it was the teaching, you could potentially get bored, or that
I
you
could
would
get bored, yeah, and I also could get a little bit tired of maybe teaching children that didn't have an interest in history or children that created problems in the classroom that
Sure.
would make it more difficult for me to teach.
Yeah. And I think honestly, with teaching, that kind of handling and managing classroom comes with time. You're not going to learn that right out of college. But okay, those are fair reasons. Tell me about what you saw or thought about that are bad things that would happen if you took road number 2, which was construction.
Well, one of the things about construction is I'd be outside most of the day. Uh, Most days in the summer, spring, fall, and winter, and that can kind of take its toll on people. That's one bad thing. I kind of, I don't do too well in extreme heat or extreme cold. So that's one bad thing about construction. And another thing, too, is the fact I'd be breathing in a lot of fumes from the environments I'd be working in, and these fumes aren't exactly healthy. So I'd be breathing in a lot of unhealthy particles and things like that that are from the substances that are inside the things I'd be working with in the construction business. And finally, it's my uncle's business. There's always a possibility that it wouldn't be profitable,
Sure.
and they'd have to lay people off. That might include me.
Yeah. So, it sounds like there's some environmental things that could potentially cause problems. There could be some, health risk if you're breathing in some of the construction materials or the fumes. And then, of course, there's always the elements of the weather. And you, again, repeated the same thing about the potential of being laid off and then not having any income. And then how would you say you had that same family that you talked about? How would that impact your family?
Well, I think if I had a family, it would be a more stable environment teaching. When I compare it to construction, just because of the nature of teaching is that you're always going to have kids to teach and schools to work at. So my opportunity to have stable employment in life, with a family would be probably better as in a teaching environment than it would be in construction.
Okay. Well, I wanted to go through these sort of activities with you and discussions just to kind of open up and give you a broader picture of some of the motivation you have behind your decisions, and also just to give us a chance to talk through some options. Obviously, you have options upon graduation from high school, but now is the time. I know you're only an eighth grader and you're getting ready to go into your freshman year in the fall. But again, if you are interested in any of these future classes for college, then now's the time to think about it. But I'm really glad that we had the chance to talk about this and for you to open up and to share some of your ideas and concerns. And I think it'll give you a better idea of how to, discuss this with your mom in the future. So, do you have any questions for me, or feel like there's a need? If you feel like there's a need to come back to see me before the end of the school, I'm always available for you.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think if I come back and talk to you again, I might bring my mom with me.
That's a great idea.
I think that would.
What a great idea
help.
that is. That would be fantastic. I would love that.
I have her hear what we're talking about. So.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, well.
All right, you need to head back to class now.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, though.
Thank you so much.